When thinking about the layout for your designs, we want to take full advantage of all the special effects and layering transparency styles that we can do within InDesign. Additionally, we want to make sure that it all has a consistent, grungy, historical kind of style. Now, since our product needs to be nice, large, and prominent, I'm going to place it right here in the center just to start off and try to make it as large as possible. Later on, we'll change the placement and all the elements that are around it. Also, the name of your product needs to be nice and large. So I'm going to take it and make it nice and big up above here. As far as choosing fonts goes, there's a variety of different styles of fonts that you could choose from. There are even some fonts that have a grungy style that you can look for. And so this may be one thing that you would want to do for your design. Do a little bit of research on some different styles of fonts. I like this one because you can see it's nice, distressed, and distorted. With that, we'll make it nice and large. At this time, we don't necessarily need to worry about color, although colors can come into play a little bit later on. Since this is going to be the most important text, the second most important, in my opinion, is going to be the pricing of it. Again, you can style your text however you wish, but there's a couple of things I like to do. Whenever I've got my price, I'm going to put it on its own line so I can make it a little bit bigger. The starting at doesn't have to be on the same line. If anything, that's just kind of a little subhead getting into it. We can highlight our text. Maybe I'll put that in the same grungy font as my other stuff. Make it larger. And this one, we'll choose a different style of font that also fits the theme of what we're doing. I found this one that also looks nice because it's, put it in bold, because it has a handwritten feel. We'll make it a little bit smaller and bring up the leading of it. Sometimes I like to make the $sign a superscript so that it fits nicely in there too. Other things like the performance can be part of its styling as well. Since performance has almost a header, we'll use our fonts as a header, make it stand out, and then the rest of this can be its own font. And to set this off, I'm going to give it a little bit of first line indent or left indent. We'll scooch it over to do something like this. Your design can be something for yours. Because we've placed everything inside of its own text box, it makes it very easy to move these around, resize, reformat them without having to deal with any kind of alignments or spacing. Don't forget about the little call out. Since that kind of goes along with a subhead, let's make this a different font that feels classic and handwritten. I'll even center it up underneath here. And finally, there's this written blurb that we can use to match this text here, which I believe I used Avenir for its text. If I really wanted this to stand out and look nice, maybe we'll do a first line drop cap. So we'll open up our paragraph panel, make it a couple of lines deep, and that drop cap can match the style of some of our other fonts that we have. In this case, I'll let it be this. Again, we haven't worried about any of the colors just yet. Colors can come from the images that you use. And it really doesn't have to be any particular image of the product. You can use some of the other images that we've given to you. If we go back to the motorcycle ad and open up the extra images, all of these have a nice historical vibe to them. Some are more colorful than others, but each one of these has a unique set of styles that you could easily pull colors from. I like, let's say, something like this one. If I was to open it up and just place it in my design, I don't have to use it in my design, although I could if I wanted to. I can simply use my color theme tool to click on the image, and this will give me a nice colorful set that I can work from. From here, I can choose several of these. Like I like this one because it's got a good variety of shades. Click on the plus sign, and that'll add it to our swatches. Let's also get some of these other more brighter colors like this one to give me a little bit more range to choose from. With this done, now when I open my swatches panel, you can see I've got two different sets of swatches that I could easily use. Hey, to make these easier to pick, I'm going to drag them out of their folder by selecting all of them and dragging them above. Oops. One at a time until they're on their own. This way I don't have to open up any subfolders, and we can get rid of both of those. With this done, let's also think about the background for this design. I'm going to place a large picture box just in the center of my frame for now. Close out my swatches so I can see it. And let's drop in or place one of the textures from this texture Photoshop path. If we say open, by default it's set to white. If we go up to Object and open the layer options, make sure your preview is turned on, you can choose whichever texture you want your background to be. Any one of these would be a good starting point for your design, but something that fits the theme of what you're trying to go for. In my case, I really like this metal type texture. We'll say OK to it, and it may take a second to render in high quality. Also make sure under View, under Display Performance, you can see it in high quality display, otherwise it'll be dumbed down to a pixelated image. I'm going to put this in the background by going to Object, Arrange, and let's send it to the back. Maybe we'll have the product nice in the background here and all the information below have its own separate style. Even by cropping it off for this, you can see how it creates almost two different planes that this is breaking into, giving it a great sense of the depth to the overall design. We can also format the text to be a little bit larger. And if I really want it to show up, let's see what it looks like as a light color. Well, obviously it can't show up as a light color here. If I do want it to have more contrast, I can go up to my effects at the top, and we can add a drop shadow to it. Drop shadows give it the ability to have that kind of blending background. Since we're pulling in colors, let's have our drop shadow color also match the style of the images. We can change up the opacity of it, making it a little bit darker, and maybe bump up the noise so that it's a nice kind of grainy texture. Play around with the settings for this for your design. Let's say we wanted the subtitle, A Dark Classic for the Modern Era, to show up behind this. Naturally, we do need to make it centered inside of our document. Let's go back into normal mode. We'll make it a little bit larger, but it's still not showing up simply because of the font that I've chosen and the textured background. What I'm going to do is to use my rectangle tool, and let's draw a rectangle right on top of that design. We'll fill it in with kind of a darkish color. To get this to blend with the colors in the background, open your Effects panel. With the red or the box selected, changing the color blending mode for it to something like Multiply allows it to give it a darker kind of feel. This may be one of those things that you play around with the different settings to give yourself a different kind of look and feel. Once this is done, see if I can highlight my text now. Again, I'll send it to the back. Select my text, and let my text color be a little bit lighter. Again, still can't see it too well, so I keep needing to play around until I can get the design that I want. I think that looks good, and we'll make this now nice, oops, and a little bit bigger. Finally, some other effects that you can apply to your design would be something like an inner shadow. Under the Effects panel, choosing Inner Shadow gives it a cutaway for the inside feel of it. Again, playing around with some of the settings until you get exactly what you want. Adds a little bit more pop to your overall design. There. Going down to the bottom, let's see what we can do for the performance and all the information down here. Maybe we'll have starting at be nice and large, and I want to put it inside of something to really make it stand out. We'll have the performance be on this left side, and all of this writing blurb fill out the area on this side. Because I'm working in black and white and not worrying about color or any other things, this makes me focus on just the readability of all of this ad. I can see I can get away with a little bit of a larger text, and I'm going to increase the leading to make everything feel balanced. We'll center it up and get the performance underneath here. Now, one of the set of images that I gave to you are a set of badge shapes. These badge shapes give you the ability to put stuff inside of them while filling it in with a solid color. Now, we can use these badges in a variety of different ways. They're all vector images. I've also given them to you as outline modes as well too. I like some of these, but let's go ahead and show our import options. When we say OK, this will allow us to choose which page that they're on. This is the one that I want to be able to use. With it done, make sure transparent background is selected, and we'll say OK to it, and then click and drag and roughly place it inside of our design. You can send it to the back. One thing we can't do to this image is change its color. Because it's a native vector illustration, we're not able to do any kind of adjustments to the fill color that will affect the picture. It'll only affect the box color. Now, the best way to change this color would be to really save this as a grayscaled TIFF. With your image selected, right-click on it, and let's do Edit With. Even though Illustrator is its native format, let's open it up in Photoshop. Again, when you do this, you'll need to select the shape that you wanted. In my case, I chose this one. Make sure your color scheme is set to grayscale, and whatever size it is, it can stay the same size. We can say OK. From here, notice in your Layers panel that you have one layer and that there's transparency already built in the background. Now all we need to do is go to File, and let's do a Save As Copy. With this done, make sure TIFF is selected and Layers is turned on. You can give it whatever name that you want. I just remember that this is going to be the Solid Badge 8 TIFF. And we'll say OK to the options. We can now close it out. We won't save the original. Going back into here, we need to now place that TIFF image. File and Place. Let's choose the Solid Badge number 8. We don't need to show the import options, and you can see how it replaces it. Now that it's a grayscale TIFF, we can double-click and select the content, the actual picture itself. You can then go up to your fill options and make it whatever color you want it to be. And let's select it now, and I can check my text color to be white. Make it this cream color. We'll get it to fit inside of that area. All right, looking good. Again, let's back out and center it up. We'll do the same for performance now, making it just a little bit larger and changing its color to match. For the background of this lower area, let's place on one of the tire textures. File and Place. Remember, these tire textures are given to you as PNGs or as vector formats. I'll open this one up because I like the look of it. I want it to fill out the background, so maybe I'll take it and rotate it sideways and scale it up and place it right there. Now to change the color of this, again, let's open it in Photoshop. So right-click on the image, choose Edit With, Photoshop. We need to change the color mode, so let's go up to Image, down to Mode and choose Grayscale. We'll discard the color. Then we can go to File, and let's do Save as a Copy. Make sure you know where it's being saved to. And change your format to be a TIFF. You can keep the layers and say Save and OK. Now let's close it out without saving. Jump back into InDesign and place the TIFF image now. So here's the new one that we created. With it selected, you can double click the image. You can change its fill color to be whatever you want. And we can also, in this case, maybe drop the opacity down just a little bit too. Notice that when I place this image in the background, other images may not clip out on the edge. So in this case, if we want to be able to get rid of the white that's in the background, let's play around with some of the blending modes for each of these objects. With this one selected, I'm going to go up to Effects and change it to Multiply. So now I can actually blend this object with the texture that's in the background with that. Some other things we can place inside of here are the other little graphic elements that are either vector or PNG. If I go up to File and Place, going back to some of the different textures, I've got a set of rolled ink textures that look really nice. All of these have kind of halftones and pixelated imagery to it. I think these would look nice inside of any area. I'm specifically going to set it inside of this dark text area. So choosing this box puts it in there. I can double click on it and scale it down, and it picks up that text and texture really, really nice. And if necessary, I can double click on it and I can move my picture around until I get exactly the area that I want. Other things that I can do include changing up its color and the blending mode for that color. Let's open up some of these textures directly in Photoshop to do that. Again, going to the textures, in my case maybe the rolled ink textures. I think the style of this one looks really nice for a background. I'm going to open it directly in Photoshop, change its color mode to grayscale and discard it. Finally, save it as a copy. We'll put it on the desktop so I can easily find as a TIFF with layers. We'll say OK to this and OK to that and close it out without saving. Now let's place it in here by going to File and Place, find your image, click and drag. I'm going to put this behind my performance area to call this out. So kind of zoom down so I can see this a little bit better. That looks good. I'll select my image and scale it up. That looks good. And we'll even let it blend in nicely with the background. Send it to the back. To change the color of it, with the image selected, you can click on or double click on it to select the content and change the black fill color to be whatever color you want it to be. The thing is, we also want to make sure our text is nice and readable as well, so not too dark in my case. I'll select everything here and kind of nudge it up so that it's nice and centered. Oops, forgot about the price. Now we can't forget about the logo. For the logo, I do have a little bit of space down here at the bottom, so if I placed it, it would fit nicely in this area. There's a couple of things we could do to make it really stand out. Maybe I'll give this a little bit more room. Let's turn on the text wrapping for the logo. Placing it inside of my text area, open up your text wrap options. So go to Window, Text Wrap. Make sure to choose the object that gets this inside, and we want the type to detect the edges. From here, we can outset it just a bit to give it a little bit of breathing space, and that'll move everything around it nicely. Your results may vary depending on where you put it, but make sure there's no awkward words trapped in one area. In this case, maybe I'll select my picture and nudge it over until this goes away. Finally, if I wanted to see what this looks like as a separate or a different kind of logo, you can select the image and go to Object, down to the Object Layer options, and we can pick the different kinds of layers that we've got. So in this case, maybe just the black one, can't see the white one, or orange only. I kind of like orange only. Even with that selected, we can also play around with some of the blending modes to multiply it, to get it to show up with the texture that's behind it. It's all up to you. So repeat this process for each of the 3 different ads that I'm giving to you. They can all have the same kind of look and layout. Don't think that you have to do something different for every one, but you can swap out a lot of the different elements per ad so that they do look nice and different. Once you're finished with these, save this up as an InDesign document, but also go to File, down to Export, and export this as a PDF.